So do you have an experience with BDD Cucumber framework?
Yes.
Okay. In Cucumber framework, we usually mention background annotation.
Yes.
So what is the purpose of having that background annotation?
Background is like when we want a certain set of steps to be followed for all the scenarios which I mentioned in the video file. So we mention it in the background. For example, if there are 5 scenarios and all those 5 scenarios require a longer step to be done there. So instead of mentioning it in all the 5 scenarios, what we do is we mention it in the background that before a scenario runs, the background should be executed. And it is applicable for all the scenarios which are mentioned in the feature file.
So how will you link this feature file, step definition and the runner files?
Basically, the feature file has the scenario written in the plain Gherkin syntax. That is plain English language which uses the Gherkin syntax given when then. And then we have step definition file corresponding to the feature file that is there. So in step definition file, for every line that is there, we write the set of code there, whatever language we are using. We use that particular. I have used Java for that purpose. So we write those step definitions when I say the code corresponding to all those lines, and then there's a runner file. There, that particular runner file basically serves as the linking between the feature file and the step definition file. So there we had that annotation at the rate run with and at the rate for options. So there in that particular class we do not basically write a code, we just provide the linking of that. Right? We mention and then for options, and then we mention there in the class the features. In brackets we mention features. When I say features, that means features equals to whatever is the location of the feature file in the project or in the ID you are working in. And then we do have and then we mention the location of the step definition files there. And then again we mention the format of the pretty format, whatever format is are we expecting, or whatever format we are expecting the report to be generated in. So that is mentioned. So the runner file basically serves as the linkage between your feature file and the step definition file.
Okay. So let's say there is an example. There is a login scenario. Okay, I wanted to log in with different sets of usernames and passwords.
Okay.
So using this Cucumber framework, how will you handle this scenario?
We can use data tables for that purpose.
So let's say I have a data in an Excel sheet.
Okay.
So I wanted to retrieve the data from the Excel sheet and pass it to the feature file, so that I need to execute the same test case, login test case, multiple times with all the users, whatever I have in the Excel sheet. So how to do that?
So in the scenario, in whatever scenario you are talking about, in that scenario you can pass the Excel name there, right? And in the step definition file, you can if there is a certain location in your project wherein you are keeping all your resources, it's not about only that XML or that text that you're talking about. If there are many other files or data files that you are maintaining, so you can just in the feature file you can just mention the name of the file, and in the step definition class you can specify the entire path, and the name would come as the parameter from there, and then you can write the code for and then in your utilities class or whatever class you have written the code to extract the data from the table, and you can use that particular class to read the data from the Excel, the Apache PY libraries, and then you can use it there in the step definition file.
Okay. So coming back to Java, on a scale of 1 to 5, how will you rate yourself?
2.5.
Okay. So generally we start executing Java starts the execution from main method, right?
Right.
So if I wanted to print a statement like hello world or something without using a main method, will I be able to print a statement using Java? method.
If you write that particular statement in the static block, then yes, you can. But if not, then it won't be executed.
Okay.
If you put a static block across it, and then try to print that particular statement, you'll be able to print it.
Okay. So let's say I have a static variable, static block, and a static method.
Okay.
So which one will be the executed first?
You have a static block.
Static variable and static method.
The variable, you're using that variable in the block. Where is that particular variable? How would variable be executed? Either a block could be executed, method could be executed.
So inside a class, I have a variable. I have some static. I have a static method.
The static block would execute first.
Okay. And then?
See, if there's another static method present, then it is not like that. It would be, the static block is like, it would execute first. But when you talk about static method, anyways, you'll need to call that particular method to get it executed. In that sense, it won't execute it on its own.
Could you please share your screen? I'll give you a small program.
Okay.
If you can write some logic for that, that would be great. Okay. Able to share your screen?
My screen is shared.
Okay, open it.
Is my screen visible?
Just give me a second. Yes. Yeah, in chat window, I just pinged you one string.
Okay.
Consider that as a string. And here you need to identify the duplicate characters from the string. So, and its count. Let's say, if you take T is repeated 3 times in that string, right? So something like that, you need to write a logic for identifying the duplicate characters and its count.
So take T and then do the count for that. This is what you are trying to do.
Exactly.
See, this was the string that you gave. What I did is I just converted it into an array using .to character array, that is .to char array method. And from there, what I am trying to do is I am trying to count each character that is there, each character that is present in that particular string. So I am trying to do that.
Okay.
And then compare the first character with the second character, and then I have increased the count so as to see what if a character is getting if a character is appearing more than one time and the character is not equals to here I put it here and it has that particular thing. See, if string of I equals to string of j, that is here this way, and then
let's say one thing, for int I equal to 0, so inside that you are saying for int j equal to I plus 1, and now you are saying like if string of 0, right, I equal to 0 equal to string of j, which means 1.
yes.
So t you are comparing with h, correct?
Yes.
And string of I 0 to 0. What is this string of j equal to? Okay, you are right again.
Actually, I'm avoiding that the character that we have already visited. I'm just trying to avoid that.
Now the I value string of I equal to string of 1. We have not completed this loop and it will not go to the top for j equal to 1, which means characters. It is not moving. The value gets incremented.
I think the question was to put that we need to convert it as the integer there.
Okay.
And then using the for loop in this particular character string, I should have checked that if the map dot contains is that particular key, in that case I should have put it into the map dot put whatever is the character, comma map dot get the count by 1.
So what is this and super keyword in Java?
What is the?
This and super keywords.
See, this keyword is used to reference to the current instance or the current variable you are pointing out or the current method that is there in the class. But when you talk about when we say super basically references to the parent to the parent class.
Okay. So what is a ternary operator?
The question mark thing. Ternary operator is like you say. What was the symbol of it? It's quite long back that I used it. Quite long back I used it, but I cannot recall it right now. But there's a question mark there, and then we say if it is a conditional statement. It's like if this or that. I cannot right now just recall it back again. I'm not able to recall it. But it's a conditional statement. If this is true or that is true, then we put a question mark there.
Yeah, got it.
I cannot recall it.
Got it. So can we override a main method?
No, we cannot override a main method.
So can we override protected method?
Protected method. Protected in the same class. Yes, we can. Private we won't be able to override.
Okay. What were the reusable components which you have implemented or created?
See, the reusable components are like we did a package called utilities wherein we write those methods like that how to take the screenshot, driver initialization, and all the usable methods, taking screenshots or the logging part, or you say the driver manager, all these things we used to keep in the utilities section. All the package, the reusable components.
So you mentioned like Maven you used, right?
Yes, as a build tool.
Yeah. So what is the purpose of having that Maven?
Maven basically serves as a build tool. It's like using Maven makes things easier for us. Like if we do not use Maven, then we'll need to keep adding the dependencies manually. So when we use Maven, it basically helps us to have all the jars or dependencies in one centralized place. And if there's a person who's just importing a project or just new to the project, he won't go and search for each and every dependency. He'll just, since it is a Maven project, the dependencies would automatically bring in the jars into the project, and then the build process is quite gets easier for that, and then from there we can configure our TestNG libraries also. So Maven is, I think.
What is the difference between Maven and TestNG?
Maven is TestNG is just we are just using TestNG plugin in that Maven is a build tool, and TestNG you are talking about, TestNG is just a testing framework. So we are just Maven we just Maven when I say Maven I'm talking about the form file that we use in the project. So in the form file we mentioned the testng.xml, whatever the file, whatever is the execution file that we are using, we mentioned that into the into our form file, so that when the execution starts, it picks up the particular file and starts running the test cases. That is what I'm trying to say. But Maven is completely independent. It is completely a different topic, and TestNG is completely a different thing. It is just a testing framework which allows you annotations and all that stuff. But Maven is of course a build tool that would basically help in building in building the source code, the libraries along with it.
So in TestNG, let's say I have two methods, method 1 and method 2. I wanted to execute the method 2 only when method 1 gets passed.
Okay.
So how would I be able to handle this scenario in TestNG?
So in that case, we have the depends on method annotation there. So in the second method, if it is a test case, we are saying that if there are two test cases and you want the second test case to execute only if the first test case passes, right? So in that case, in the second test case that is there at the rate test, in that at the rate test you can mention there depends on annotation we have. You can define depends on methods equals to whatever is the name of the test case that is there. You can write its name. So whenever the execution will come to the second, it will only come to it will first ensure that the first test case is run successfully, and if the first test case runs successfully, then only it will execute the second method. And in case the first method fails, the execution of the second is skipped. So depends on the.
Okay. So let's say in your web application there is a DOM element div, okay, as a parent element. Okay. Inside that parent you have two span tags.
Okay.
As a chain elements, okay. So I want you to write an XPath to identify the second span tag, second child span tag. From there you have to refer to the parent. So could you please give me an XPath for that? Did you get my question? So you have parent element inside that tails.
Inside that I have sorry. I have a div then.
Let me just type it. Okay. So you have div inside the two childs span tags. Okay. So I want you to identify the second span and then refer it to the parent div. So can you give me the syntax for that? XPath.
You want me to refer to the parent div?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
This would give you the dot that is there. This would basically take it back into the div, the parent.
Okay. Yeah. So I want you to write it from span tag. First identify the span tag, and then from there you need to refer to the parent. Did you get me?
And there are only these three, right?
First, you have to identify the second span.
In that case, it again would be just remove the div there. And then this, and then this.
Okay.
Now, basically, the dot that you see at the end, this is mainly responsible to bringing it to the parent element. That is the div.
Is that single dot work or double dot?
I think single dot.
So you have web services experience as well, right? Rest assured.
Yeah, but that is a very minor portion. I told you. There were almost 5 to 6 I worked on.
Okay. So what are the different communications channels or the functions you use to test your API?
Majority of the time we were using GET request.
So what is the difference between GET and POST?
Get is like get was used when we want to when we try to fetch something from the server. That is when you try to get, for example, anything, be it any like let's talk about Google. So whenever we type anything, we just type the parameters into it and we get the response from it. The response is in the response is the information that we get. So that is the get. Whenever we try to fetch something by just querying that is your get, and we get the information. And when you say post is basically when you try to create a new resource on the server. For example, what should I say? Let's say you want to add creating a entire new entity into the server. You just create a new resource on a particular server.
Okay. Fine. So how did you handle the test data in your automation framework?
Test data, we were basically keeping the test data in the Excel file.
Okay.
And
so how did
POI like this.
Okay. Okay.
So
okay, what kind of reporting you have followed or implemented as part of your automation framework?
Reporting, and we are using extend report. We are using Vimalji Selvam, the dependency data is there. The extend report.
Okay. So what are the different challenges when you are automating some web application so do you have mobile application experience as well? Mobile automation experience as well? Okay. So what are the different challenges you have identified or you have experienced as part of this web automation?
Majority of the time has been the XPaths that get break whenever there is a major change in the application. Apart from that, the application performance also plays a very important role, because if the no matter if the application is not stable sometimes, and you have taken a time like 30 seconds or 60 seconds to wait, then and the application is still not able to load in 60 seconds, your test cases will keep on failing, because the element is trying to identify it won't be available there. That is another problem. And then the stale element exception that comes in, no matter we have that way to handle that stale element exception. But again, since the use of JavaScript is so much higher these days in these web pages that somewhere or the other it keeps on breaking. How should I say that? That the response basically flickers sometimes, like we are expecting a response in 10 seconds. That is the ideal performance that we are expecting. But whenever the performance of the application goes down, then again the entire thing crashes. Apart from that, I think sometimes locating a certain element also becomes a huge problem, and especially with Angular 9, we are facing huge issues while automating. Apart from that, the other thing is what I have noticed is, like when we go for the cross-browser testing, and when we basically create a script or we basically automate a test case, we usually go through only one browser. So if I start automating a test case on Chrome browser and use the XPath and get the XPath from that particular browser and start automating it, then the test cases which run perfectly well in Chrome sometimes may not behave very well in Firefox. But if you go the other way around, that if you run your test cases, if you write your test cases according to the Firefox browser, and then you try to just run those test cases in your Chrome browser, they run perfectly well. So I think that was a major challenge while doing cross-browser testing, while I was using Chrome as my first point of contact. But from the time I've changed my approach, that I've started writing my test cases on the Firefox browser, and then I've started